All right, let's get you the latest news break coming in from Bihar, and this is the alliance talks between the RJD and the Congress. And while they've just begun, they have already hit a speed bump. Mahagathbandhan seat-sharing talks clearly stalled. There's been no seat-sharing consensus between RJD and Congress, but the big news point in all of this, viewers, comes from the fact that there is no consensus on the face of who will lead the India Alliance campaign in the state of Bihar. That means there is no consensus on the face of Tejasvi Yadav. The reason why, our source is telling us, while the talks were going on, the Congress was completely quiet when it came down to announcing a face to lead the India Alliance campaign in the Bihar elections as Tejasvi Yadav. So where does the talks now lie? Where RJD and the Congress are concerned, they are yet to get a deeper understanding of it, but this is the second meeting that had taken place. The first, of course, which had taken place was in the national capital with the senior leadership. You had Tejasvi Yadav, who had flown to Delhi to meet the top brass of the Congress, Mr. Kharge, Rahul Gandhi. But the second meeting, and this was supposed to be a crucial meeting where a lot of the fine print of this alliance had to be ironed over, and there is already a hiccup in all of that because no consensus is coming in where it comes down to the face of Tejasvi Yadav to lead the alliance in the Bihar polls. Seat sharing is something which at least our sources seem to tell us that over time will be ironed out, that issue. But consensus is because RJD has dug in its heels where it comes down to announcing Tejasvi as the face of the campaign of the India Alliance. All right, let's quickly move on to our top debate, though. Now, this story coming in and brewing in the state of Tamil Nadu for a while, trouble mounting for Congress Karnataka. Chief Minister Siddaramaiah currently chairing a key cabinet meet today after protests mounted in Karnataka against the controversial socio-economic and education survey report. Chief Minister Siddaramaiah on Wednesday assured that his government would not allow injustice to any community. According to the report, which is yet to be made public, the Vokkaliga and Lingayat population declined in the state. On the other hand, population of Muslims and the STs have increased. This has now triggered political unrest even within the ruling Congress party. Several Congress leaders are openly speaking out against the caste census, suggesting plain and simple this will spell doom for the Congress.
ನೋಡಿ ಅದು ರಾಜ್ಯ ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಇದೇನು ನಾವು ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ನಡೆದಂತದ್ದು ಅಲ್ಲ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಸರ್ಕಾರದವರು ಏನು ನಿರ್ಣಯ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೋ ಅವರು ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅವ್ರ ಕ್ಯಾಬಿನೆಟ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರ್ತದೋ ಮತ್ತು ಆ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಲ್ಲ ಅದನ್ನ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟು
So your government passed a 4% legislation, sent it to the governor. The governor has not signed it. He has sent it to the president. How do you see this?
Let him send it. For that only, the Supreme Court has already given a clear clarity. Governor has to clear it within 3 months. At the same time, Government of India, President also should clear it in such and such a time. So otherwise, it is automatically completed.
Do you think the governor is working against the government?
Yes, naturally.
All right, so more news coming in right now. A special cabinet meeting on the socio-economic survey concluded without a final decision. The matter is going to continue to brew and stew. The Chief Minister has asked ministers to submit their concerns in writing. The government is likely to convene another round of cabinet discussions on the issue. That's the latest now coming in. I want to quickly cut across to our panelists this evening. Sandeep Shastri, National Coordinator, Lokniti Network; Deepak Themaiya, National Spokesperson, Congress; Surabhi Hodingre, spokesperson, Bharatiya Janata Party. I want to cut across to Sandeep Shastri first. Sandeep Shastri, understandably, that is what was expected, that there's going to be no clear conclusion. The matter, at least politically speaking, is going to continue to simmer, but the fallout of that, Sandeep Shastri, the timing of all of it, everything contentious.
Preeti, if you look at the Siddaramaiah agenda, it was very clear that Siddaramaiah, as a Ahinda leader, saw himself as somebody protecting the interests of the backward caste, And now when there is this whole debate on whether the Karnataka Chief Minister needs to change after 2.5 years, I think this is an important political trump card that has been played in terms of putting the caste census in the forefront. Because if this caste census report, which has come out in the media, is to be believed, it states that the Vokkaligas and Lingayats, the two dominant castes of Karnataka, their relative strength has gone down. Preeti, it's important to remember that the Vokkaligas and Lingayats have always been more than half the MLAs of Karnataka. And if it is said now that their relative strength is going down, it has very serious political implications and it is likely to have serious repercussions. Let's also remember that in the past, whenever any backward caste commission has suggested that either Lingayats or Vokkaligas or both should be taken out of the backward caste list, it has been strongly opposed and no government has been able to take them out of the backward caste list. So this is going to raise a large number of issues. And as you very rightly said, the Congress ministry itself is divided on the issue. And that's why you have a cabinet decision which seems to be that ministers will submit their views on this, their disquiet about it. And I think the point they are largely making, which D.K. Shukmar also made, is that we are for social justice, as Rahul Gandhi says, but then we need to look at issues of the caste census more closely. So I think that's the stand, and it will not be easy for either the Congress government or the Congress party to take this issue forward without too much of ruffling of feathers.
You know, Deepak Timaya, the question is, if all of this was happening, if that report or the proverbial caste census was tabled, mind you, it's 10 years old, number one. The timing of it is contentious. One of the points was touched on, but none other by Mr. Shastri, who said, it's been 2.5 years and there is enough discontent where your party is concerned. But let's leave the conspiracy theories aside. The fact is, this is a leak because we still don't know what the report actually says. You're on mute, sir.
Sorry. That is only speculation, right? If we are speaking about something that we don't know of. Nobody has given those reports to anybody, so that apart from the cabinet considering it and debating it. And as you know, the Congress party has MLAs, all of them who are committed to social justice, and I'm sure that they will hold that primary to everything else. So if at all they have any concerns, they will certainly debate it and they'll discuss it, and they will also bring forth the concerns of their respective communities. And I'm sure the government is wise enough and quite sagacious enough to be able to make the right decision. And ultimately, the thing is that the society has to be taken the way it is, and nobody can put in their imagination, hallucination, whatever, to just think that, the things are the way they think it is. If at all there is some truth that's going to come out, which is going to benefit the large number of people, I'm sure everybody in the Congress party is going to be committed to it. But keeping that in mind, it is natural for people to feel a little ruffled and, unsettled with these reports. So certainly that they will express their angst and concern and anxiety. So the government is taking the right step. It's not saying that it's going to unilaterally, in an authoritative way, implement it and, cause a lot of, concern. But let me tell you, and this is not going to just affect the Congress party, it's going to affect the other parties too, because it's about the people of Karnataka. It's not just about the congressmen. So you have to keep that in mind very clearly.
I'll ask you one quick question, Mr. Timaya, because you still have some time. And that stems from the fact, why rake it up right now if it doesn't serve your chief minister, not the deputy, but the chief minister politically? Why bring in something that you could have possibly tabled 10 years ago, because this report is 10 years old, this survey is 10 years old? Why now? Why is the timing so contentious? I'll give you 1 minute, sir. 1 minute.
The leadership of the party has been insisting on this for a long time. And if you know that the national leadership of the party, the high command also has been wanting this to be, discussed at least. And, the right equitable, distribution to happen. And because, the Congress party is heavily dependent on the favor the grace and also the support of the backward classes, because whatever that we have done also, and see, on many, many occasions, people have accused of being, totally, perhaps, like the way we are accused, that even to the extent of being lopsided in our approach towards the backward classes and the minorities and so on. And it is natural for the BJP also to feel quite unsettled about this, because, it's going to cause a lot of disconcert to them. But let me tell you, and this has nothing to do with Mr. Siddaramaiah's politics, so whatever this had to happen, and today with the kind of majority we have, if we don't do this, when else will we do?
Well, I would reckon you do it in the first year itself, where you take oath, because your entire, campaign, I'll come back to you, sir, I'll circle back to you. Allow me to bring in the BJP spokesperson, because your entire campaign in Lok Sabha was around the, caste census. It was all about social equity. You could have done it earlier. So really, the question does prevail. Why now? It was Telangana actually came up earlier, conducted a survey and tabled it way earlier than you did. So the timing is going to be questioned, sir, whether you like it or not. I want to bring in the BJP spokesperson, Surabhi Hodegrer. Surabhi, the fact is, why so much dissent? Because it seems this is a ticking time bomb for the Congress itself. Why don't you just sit back and watch the show?
First, I'd like to answer the Congress spokesperson's, reference to speculation, conspiracy theories, etc. None of these, on the basis of the timing as to why this has come out now, none of these comments on why the timing sounds so suspicious is being made from anybody in the opposition. It's being made from people within your own party. And the same people, yes, they could have gone to the cabinet meeting, they could have gone to the chief minister and told them about their, inconveniences or their thoughts and processes. But today we're seeing in Karnataka, every single minister having a divergent opinion than what the Congress is saying through its government. So let me make it very clear that none of this is speculation or conspiracy theory coming from the public or the opposition. It is coming from within your own party. To answer your question, Preeti, this is not merely about politics or, hey, look, we're the opposition, we're going to oppose everything that the government is going to do. No, this deals with the 7 crore Kannadigas, 7 crore people of Karnataka, whose livelihoods, whose jobs and employment, education, all of this is in question when it comes to reservation and categorization of different opportunities. So, of course, we're going to be asking the question, and the question that we're asking here is that this is not a scientific report. And how can you table such an unscientific report? To just give you some instances as to where we're seeing manipulation of data, whether it's the manipulation of caste names, whether it is fragmentation of different castes. For example, even Vokkaligas have been, fragmented as Gaudas, Bunds, when it's all known that these are all together. Or it's the overestimation and a very unfair categorization of our SC/ST brethren. In Karnataka, 49 STs are categorized as well as 101 SCs. But that number has been inflated as well. So all of these things put a question. Why have you brought forth an unscientific survey? Not a census. Let me remind you that. A survey. And the popular narrative that's going on, not just from the public, not just from the opposition, is people don't remember being surveyed. This is completely working against the Congress.
All right, I want to bring back Sandeep Shastri into this conversation. Sandeep Shastri, one thing is also, the irony of all of this is because we still don't publicly have the numbers of this survey. It's a leaked report. There's enough politics around it. But the question I want to ask you, Sandeep Shastri, is that this is a Pandora's box for the Congress. And if they open it, it could be self-deprecative in a number of ways. And we can already see that.
Preeti, to start off, I think the leak is so porous and transparent that I wonder whether it's a leak in terms of what is today in the public domain. Now, I think we need to look at important political implications of what the Congress leadership in the government is attempting through this. Let's remember that in the past also, caste census, caste reservation has been used by governments at critical moments. Remember VP Singh announcing Mandal Commission report just as they were facing a confidence vote. So caste census and caste related issues have always been critical for leaders to leave a stamp of themselves in the politics of the state or the politics of the country. So I think that has to be kept in mind. The mere debate on the caste survey does not indicate that the caste survey's findings are going to be implemented. It is just you have let the cat out among the pigeons in terms of a discussion to happen. But I think this discussion also has a detrimental effect on all parties because it brings out the inner party dissensions in parties. And let's remember, as I said earlier, the Vokkaligas and Lingayat MLAs account for a majority of the population of MLAs. And on this issue, it's quite likely that across parties, the MLAs of these two communities would come together. So I think it goes beyond party politics and goes to the finer nuances of caste politics in the state.
All right. Okay. I want to go back to the, Congress spokesperson in all of this. The fact is this leaked survey, and we can give out the numbers there as well. It doesn't quite really matter. Mr. Thimayya serves the Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, because somewhere down the line it will help him consolidate his own Ahinda vote bank, but will be counterproductive when you look at the Vokkaliga, the Lingayat support which comes in for the Congress. So therefore the question, it's counterproductive where the Congress is concerned. And I'll give you an example why, which you say the top leadership wanted it. You had Mr. Kharge, who was asked about the caste survey in Karnataka, and he distanced himself from it. He really wants nothing to do with it. So really, I don't see it coming in from the top brass of the Congress. It's seemingly stemming more from the Chief Minister's office.
Okay, when I spoke about the speculation, and I did not mention conspiracy, but when I spoke about speculation, it was basically about people like you yourself said that we still don't have the report. I don't have the report. We are just going by the newspaper reports. So I called it speculation. It's not about the BJP doing the speculation or whatever it is. I've been very careful about that. And there is no conspiracy that I'm alluding here. But let me tell you very clearly, like Mr. Shastri said, this is not going to affect only the Congress, but also the BJP, because I'm sure the BJP's concern will be far more than Congress's, because, they are seen as an upper caste party, which they are certainly trying to make inroads into the backward classes and all, but predominantly, that the kind of support that they've been getting and from where it is coming. And so certainly that, if at all you see that the numbers are actually small and the other classes have a bigger numbers, I'm not saying this is like the final thing, like Mr. Shastri said too, and nobody can just arbitrarily implement it. This is like, he has called it like the cat among the pigeons, but I say that this is like a sort of food for thought, because I think a society should be dynamic and you should be having these things, because otherwise the society becomes stagnated and nothing moves at all and things stay the way they are for centuries. And things have to change, such data has to come out. Let's correct the data. I'm sure that Mr. Siddaramaiah, whatever that you may allege it to be, but he is a very wise politician. He also knows how we would go down, in time, as how he is going to be seen. But if at all people say that it's going to be advantageous to him, I'm sure that even other politicians are also quite clever. They too know how this is going to pan out. But let me tell you, the people too are quite clever, and I'm sure the people who voted for Congress are not going to complicate this matter to actually, make it difficult for the Congress party. But let me tell you, if at all you say that just because it's going to be inconvenient for some parties, that if at all you're going to stop these things from happening, I think that's being very
So Ruby, is this inconvenience for the BJP? That's what, it's inconvenient right now, especially on how the social groups stack up in this particular survey, which again, I would say, many, even within the Congress, Mr. Thimayya, are calling it unscientific in nature on how it was conducted.
The inconvenience is not being voiced from the BJP. The inconvenience is being voiced from people within the cabinet and within the Congress party. Let me remind the Congress spokesperson here that we're very proud of the fact that we have a OBC person as our Prime Minister. I don't like to go by that definition, but that's the matter of the fact, because when you tell us we are a forward caste party, that is very insinuating. I can say that the Congress is a party that appeases significantly, but please do not make such comments about the BJP.
I did not make such comments. Please,
sir, please allow her to finish. Go ahead, ma'am. Make your point.
You did. Let me complete my point. My point being here is that the BJP has constantly been, let's do the caste survey. Of course, a society is changing. Fair representation, social justice must be in order. But do not do a survey based on unscientific methodology, unscientific data. Do not do it in 2015 and then release it in 2025. Do not do it and, not release it to the public, not have discussion about it. And push it around in such a way that it only benefits your internal political situation, because that is what the people of Karnataka are waking up and reading in the news today. If truly the Congress party wants to put forth the reservation based on true numbers, let us do it in a scientific manner. Why overestimate certain communities and underestimate a few more? Why would you do that? Why categorize? And where do not, there are language-based classifications within the caste survey that we have seen in the leaked version. What is all of this based on? There are caste rankings on basis of education and socio-economic factors. What are those rankings based on? Yes, we don't have the entire report. This is all based on the leaks that the government itself has leaked. But tell me, is that not fair for discussion? Is that not something that we must be discussing? Have a proper, do a scientific, methodology-oriented survey, and then we will have a conversation about it. Please let us not go into these conversations about, is it politically relevant,
we're not taking any timer now. Just, the last 5 minutes that I have, I just want to bring in all of you one by one. And Sandeep Shastri, the fact is, if you look at, the 2023 state assembly elections, and correct me if I'm wrong, sir, I would reckon 49% of Vokkaliga support actually went to the Congress. So that was a huge shift. 23% of Lingayats went to the Congress. So why is the Congress doing this at this point of time? Many would suggest is counterproductive. On the other hand, when tickets tickets need to be given, the new combinations would be very, very different, because, how do you give the same amount of tickets on what you've been doing where your influential leaders from each community are concerned?
Preeti, you are very right in saying that the Congress won 2023 is stitching together a rainbow coalition. It got support from the Lingayats. The Vokkaliga vote saw a three-way split. And of course, they got a significant chunk of non-dominant OBC vote. Why are they trying it out now at this stage of their term? I think we need to look at the political calculations which is there for leaders at this point of time. How leaders are locating themselves as part of the wider debate in terms of jockeying for places and positions, and also maybe looking at how they would be looked at in history. So that factor, as I said right in the beginning, Siddaramaiah has a political message and a backdrop. He is seen as an Ahinda leader. He would like to, during this term as Chief Minister, do what he can for the community he represents. And in a sense, the attempt is to try and see that the backward caste, as he would put it, has their due, but it is producing the backlash from the other groups. And given the fact that those other groups are also prominent in the Congress, it creates a challenge for the party.
Just one final word, final submissions, Mr. Thimaiyya and Surbhi. Mr. Thimaiyya, please go, the Congress spokesperson.
See, I did not say that the BJP is a party of forward classes, but that's actually something I think she must have misheard it. But let me tell you, if at all, today that you're reacting like this because the numbers are different from what you expected, and if at all this report has been talked about for the past 10 years, and you suddenly today you realize that it was an unscientific report because it's not very favorable to you, and it should have been done the way you wanted it to be, so the numbers could have been fudged to your benefit. I think that is something that nobody could accept, because it was talked about, and if at all you had such concerns, you could have gone to the court, wherever, you could have stopped this report from coming out, because you were so sure that it was an unscientific report that was being put together only for the benefit of the Congress party. There were so many other governments that actually came to power in between, but they also did not bother about it, because, I'm sure that everybody knew what was in there. Okay, and they conveniently ignored it. But let me tell you, we just have to look at the interests of people of Karnataka, and it's going to be.
I'm running out of time.
One last
Make your point.
BJP too is quite concerned about it, and a lot of people are airing their grievances.
Concern is understandable.
It's not being reported.
Mr. Thimaiyya, concern is understandable, but 10 years late, for example, India would conduct surveys every 10 years. This report, even if it was scientifically conducted, the survey is defunct by now, because it's 10 years.
That we should talk to the government. I certainly would do my own research.
Because it was a survey that the state conducted, sir. That's why I'm saying. It's a survey that the state conducted, which you didn't table at that time.
See,
You're trying to table a survey which is 10 years late.
The CM has very clearly said that the ministers have to study the survey and give their opinion.
But what are you? Let's say it's scientific in nature, but it's 10-year-old. The country itself should conduct a census. I'm talking about a census, not even surveys every 10 years.
You have a point in there, but I'm not running the government.
So the report is defunct in any case. Why are we looking at data which was collaborated 10 years ago?
Appreciate your concern
and then make reservation
your observation.
On those grounds. It makes no sense. But all right, final submission, Surbhi, go ahead.
No, Mr. Deepak Siddaramaiah sir, with all due respect, you're not running the government, but you're defending it. And this is where the Congress party is getting it wrong here in Karnataka. The Congress is speaking in one tone and the government is speaking in another. The report is 10 years old, yes. The BJP government came, between this. The reason it was not accepted during the BJP time was because it was not even signed by the man who was responsible, the person whose name goes on the report, Mr. Kantaraju. There was always questions about its, rigor. There were always questions that were raised from the BJP camp. The point that we're trying to tell the Congress over here is that if you're so keen on doing the caste survey and making sure that reservation and making sure opportunities are built on data and numbers, do it properly. Do it properly. Do not do it in a biased manner.
Okay. That's all the time that we have for now. That's all the time that we have for now. I appreciate all three of you for joining us. Thank you there. We're going to end this bulletin, but we're going to keep eye on all developments that are taking place because understandably it's an issue that at least one section, not the entire Congress, one section of the Karnataka Congress want to keep on the boil. Let it simmer, let it fester, let it stew. All right, let's begin with the news break coming in. The Bengal government's first report on the clashes that occurred in the riot in Murshidabad has been accessed. The Bengal government report suggests that the riot erupted without any official banner. Agitated mob had gathered near a mosque in an attempt to vandalize Hindu homes. Cops opened fire in self-defense. That is the first draft, or at least the first report of the Bengal police right now. Mind you, there has been friction where the center and the state is concerned. The state now has released, or the first report of what really went down of the state has been accessed, where the state report seems to suggest that this entire mob gathered outside a mosque and there was an attempt to vandalize Hindu homes, and the police, then the West Bengal police, Murshidabad police, was coerced into opening fire in self-defense. All right, with that news break, let's quickly move on to our big focus of the day, and that came in from the top court of the country. The Supreme Court today did not stay the Waqf law, but passed an injunction, at least, on two of the most contentious provisions of the law. What does it mean? Can it be seen as an interim setback for the government? Take a look. Top court steps in on Waqf law. Interim setback for government. Injunction on Waqf's contentious provisions in new law.
The Supreme Court has said that the Central Waqf Council and the State Waqf Board will not be constituted. Waqf by user cannot be deleted. Now, there are other provisions also which we as a party have come to the Honorable Supreme Court that calling it unconstitutional.
This is not reform. It is retaliation in the guise of reform. It is retaliation meticulously scripted, strategically timed, and constitutionally questionable. The Waqf Amendment Act is not an exercise in efficiency as it pretends to be.
While the Supreme Court refused to grant an interim stay on the Waqf Amendment Act 2025, the status quo on certain contentious provisions of the new law are being seen as a setback to the government. Interim setback 1. The top court directed that there would be no alteration in the character of any Waqf property, including those registered as declared under the practice of Waqf by user. Waqf by user is land used by Muslim religious or charitable purpose for a long period of time. it is deemed to be Waqf property even if it was not registered as one. Nearly half of the 8 lakh odd Waqf properties in India are Waqf by user. The Supreme Court noted such properties would not be denotified as Waqf by user for now, which was proposed by the new Waqf Amendment Law. The court ordered that all Waqf properties, regardless of how they were classified, must be preserved in their current state until the next hearing. There were concerns expressed by the top court over the Waqf by user provision in the new law, which said if the district collector identified any Waqf by user property as government land, it would cease or be denotified as Waqf property till a court determined its status. The Supreme Court was of the view that a court should decide that and that Waqf by user denotification should not happen before that. Interim setback 2. The top court told the government that non-Muslims won't be appointed to central Waqf councils and the state Waqf boards. The Supreme Court made the union government assure that no appointment of non-Muslims to the Waqf Council and board would be made till the next date, which is 5th May. It also directed that no new appointments be made to any Waqf board during this period. The centre assured the Supreme Court that no Waqf properties will be denotified till the next date of hearing on 5th May 2025. This means that disputed Waqf land cannot be touched. This means the government cannot take land claimed by Waqf. It also means that even disputed land cannot be taken by the government. The petitioners, many of which are opposition parties, are claiming interim victory, while the government now has 7 days to file a preliminary response with relevant documents. Bureau Report, India Today. In all of this, viewers, do underline the term interim because the next hearing is on the 5th of May. Well, with all that has taken place till now, on just the basis of that, there are certain questions that we asked this evening. Can this be read as an interim setback to the centre? The other question that we asked, injunction on contentious provisions, because there have been 2 contentious provisions where there has seemingly been a stay on the injunction on these 2 contentious provisions, a win for petitioners. And ultimately, with what most petitioners are reading it, the injunction on law provisions mean that the top court recognizes merit in case against the law. Let's take these questions right now to our panelists this evening. Joining me, Radhika Khera, National Spokesperson, BJP, Arshdeep Khadial, National Spokesperson, Congress. Before we go to our political panelists, I would like to bring in my colleague Nalini, who is getting us the latest from the courts, our court reporter. Nalini, take us through on what really happened in court. What could be the implications of it? Can it be seen as a setback to the government? What does the injunctions on 2 of its most contentious provisions mean?
Well, Preeti, it's definitely a setback to the government because if you remember, the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta as well as the government had tried their very best to try and ensure that no interim order is passed in this case either yesterday or today. Yesterday, they had asked for time till today to go ahead and place their arguments before the court, and today they've asked for additional time of 1 week to place their preliminary arguments before the court. But at the same time, the Supreme Court categorically said that the interim order will be issued, and that's exactly what they've done during the course of the hearing today. So even though time has been given to the government to file that response within 1 week, but during the meantime, the CJ has made it clear that he does not want any drastic changes on the ground, which means that as far as possible, suo motu must be maintained until the time that the Supreme Court is looking into this matter. So even though the stay is only till the 5th of May, till the next date of hearing, but it comes in as a huge relief to the petitioners because all of their most major concerns that they had highlighted before the Supreme Court yesterday, the Supreme Court has ensured that they feel that their rights are protected, and it's a balance of equities. Exactly what CJ Sanjeev Khanna said that he will do yesterday, he has done exactly that today through its order. It's a balance of equities where there are certain provisions that the government is allowed to enforce after the act has been notified in the official gazette. But at the same time, certain contentious provisions that were the main point of concern for the petitioners. The Supreme Court has asked the government to hold their hands, at least for now. This obviously pertains to the inclusion of non-Muslim members into the boards, as well as denotification of these Waqf properties. So two major concerns by the petitioners have been assuaged by the Supreme Court, which means that the Supreme Court is going to be looking into the matter further. It's not going to go to the High Court like they were originally planning, and it remains to be seen exactly what happens now when the centre officially files its affidavit before the Supreme Court and on what grounds they are able to defend the constitutionality of the Waqf Amendment Act.
Nalini, for the benefit of our viewers, would you be able to break it down on layman's terms, what it really means of these two contentious provisions and an injunction on both, where it tantamounts to the denotification of Waqf property and, of course, non-Muslims on board?
Yes, Preeti. In fact, the first provision that talks about denotification of the properties, the centre had specifically assured the Supreme Court that no registered property, whether it's registered by a deed or it's notified as a Waqf by user property, no registered and notified property will be notified by the centre. Now, originally, what the act was saying was that any property that's Waqf by user that does not have the proper documentation in place, that does not have the proper papers, can in fact be denotified as a Waqf property. And that was a main concern that the petitioners had raised in the hearing yesterday, where they'd spoken about there are so many mosques, there are masjids, there are monuments, there are so many properties that are being used as the Waqf properties simply by virtue of the fact that they are Waqfs and they don't have a proper documentation in place. So it's important that these are not denotified, which is exactly what CJI Sanjeev Khanna also told the centre. The second main contention was regarding inclusion of non-Muslim members within the Waqf Board and the Waqf Council. Now, what the petitioners had told the Supreme Court is that you don't see this in any other religious body. In fact, the idea of a Muslim being part of an administrative body that's running, say, a Hindu temple or a Sikh Gurudwara is unfathomable, which is what the petitioners had argued. And the Supreme Court said that although there are statutory regulations on all religious bodies regarding religious endowments, but at the same time, it seems there is some prima facie value to the argument made by the petitioners that non-Muslims should not be allowed. So even though yesterday the centre had assured the Supreme Court that it won't be more than 2 non-Muslim members part of these bodies, but the Supreme Court has said categorically no, to not add any non-Muslims, at least till the next date of hearing, so that the concerns of the petitioners can be assuaged a little.
You know, you've already addressed it, Nalini, the sheer fact that the Supreme Court will continue to hear it, but yesterday the top court had said that they could, transfer the case to a high court. So that's not happening now. It's going to be the top court which hears the case.
Yes, absolutely. That was an idea that was entertained by the Supreme Court right at the very beginning, whether or not the case should be transferred to the High Court. But today, by officially issuing notice to the government, by officially issuing this interim order, it's clear that the Supreme Court will only be looking into this matter. And the main reason for that can also be because once this other provisions of this act are brought into force, there is a very strong likelihood that petitions against that will be filed in various high courts across the country. So if the Supreme Court's hearing the matter, all the matters can then be taken up by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court can be the final arbiter about what needs to be done in this case.
Well, the court also said that they're going to pick 5 petitions and dismiss the others because they cannot really hear all of them. I appreciate, Nalini, for you taking the time out, joining us, giving us a lowdown. Let's cut across to our political panelists because viewers, there's a political fallout of it all, and understandably, a lot of petitioners in this case are political parties as well. I have with me Radhika Khera, National Spokesperson BJP, Arshdeep Khadial, National Spokesperson Congress. The Congress is also one of the petitioners in Supreme Court wanting that the bill be struck down. That hasn't quite happened because the court has seen merit where the Waqf law is concerned. But Radhika Khera, the sheer fact that one can call it a stay, you can call it an injunction on 2 of the most contentious provisions seem to suggest right now that the top court of the country sees merit in the case that the petitioners have filed.
Good evening to all. Let's be crystal clear. This is A, not a win for the petitioners, and B, it is not a blow to the government. The Supreme Court has not stayed the act and they have refused to strike it down. They have simply said that facts need to be examined, documents must be studied, and this is a constitutional due process and not a judicial condemnation. So when you have people saying, oh, this is this victory and that victory, that has not happened. Number 2, This is not the Congress-style government where laws were passed in Parliament by day and reversed by night, and this is also not Shah Bano 2.0, where the court was slapped down to appease radical clerics. This is the Modi government, the BJP government, where we respect the court and the court respects the constitution and the government in power. We are not the Rajiv Gandhi government that reversed the orders of the Supreme Court. And we are unlike Rahul Gandhi, who publicly calls out the Supreme Court, attacks the judges, defames them, and then has to go and apologize. Like I said, we respect the court and the court respects us. Having said that, I would also like to clarify here and we thank the court for taking note of this, that mobs have been incited by various political groups and religious groups, and they have encouraged violence across West Bengal, which is very shameful. If you have an issue with something, that does not mean you answer it with violence. And we are thankful for the court to raise that out. And also, let's not forget the things that you spoke about also as well. Now, we have only asked for time for 7 days because there are lots of facts that need to be given and lots of facts with proof. And it's not a very small thing. There are n number of properties that belong to different religious temples, and you have gurdwaras and churches, which the Waqf board is taking claim on. So the government is going to come back with proper proofs, and as also those petitioners, over 120 petitioners are there, whether it's the Congress, and what is going to be out there to see is that the so-called people, ki hum thekedar hai in logon ke, whether it is the Congress, the Sapa, the Mamata Banerjee.
Okay. Your time is up, Radhika Khera. I'll circle back to you. Your time is up, 2 minutes each. But you spoke of that you're not a government that reverses court orders. I'll just, remind you on the ordinance that was passed, which reversed the Supreme Court order on the Delhi Services Act. So that happened exactly 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, but we didn't do something to. But
I'm just telling you. I am just, ma'am. I'll circle back to you. You recounted.
We didn't do it to stand by and please some radical elements for our vote bank. Please,
ma'am. One second.
Do not match it with this. What happened with Shah Bano was horrible, and I'm sure you agree with that also. What the Rajiv Gandhi government back then did was not correct, just to please the vote bank.
One second. Radhika Khera, your time is up. It's not an argument between you and I.
That's fine. You said you can shut me down.
You made a point. Allow me to answer that, right? You made a point. You say we are not a government that reverses court orders. I just reminded you. I just reminded you of. Ma'am, don't talk over me. I'm sorry. If you're going to, you'll have enough time. Can I just get your fader down?
You can mute me.
I will. So now hear me out. You said it was you, Radhika Khera, who said that you're not a government that reverses court orders. I just gave you an example of one you did. That's it, simple. You reversed a Supreme Court order and passed an ordinance on the Delhi Services Act. That's it, period. I want to just bring in now Arshdeep Karyal. Your 2 minutes, Arshdeep Karyal, will begin now. The fact is, Radhika Khera had a point there, where she made what was the petition on? Is to strike down the Waqf law. Clearly, the top court of the country sees merit in this law, says there are a lot of provisions that have merit. They're not going to strike down the law. Right now, the contentious provisions and injunction is there, but that is also interim. All only till the 5th of May. We don't know what the future brings in this case. Tad bit early to celebrate?
Not at all. In fact, if our case did not have any basis to it, it would have been dismissed on the very first date. However, because it had basis to it, the centre has been asked to respond within a week. They'll have to file a status report. And second, interim stay has been granted on 2 very important issues. Now, the Bharatiya Janata Party's government will not be able to constitute the Central Waqf Council or the State Waqf Council. They will not be able to denotify the Waqf properties, and the by-user concept will stay. It cannot be deleted as of now. Number 2, if only the Bharatiya Janata Party's government had not shown tearing hurry in this matter, and they would have discussed, deliberated, and consulted the stakeholders, this would have not been necessary. But the fact of the matter is that the Waqf Act violates Article 14, violates 25, Article 26, 29, 30 and 246. That's one. It violates minority rights. It violates the federal structure. It violates the Constitution of India. And we've all seen the Bharatiya Janata Party's demeanor towards Ambedkar Saab and the Constitution made by Ambedkar Saab. When the Home Minister says Ambedkar, Ambedkar, Ambedkar in the Parliament in that fashion, and despite that, no action gets taken against him. And then we also saw the Solicitor General said that the stay ought not to be granted without us being heard, because proper deliberations have happened. That's exactly the case. In the JPC, no clause-by-clause discussion took place, which always does. However, not done in this matter. Number two, in the Parliament, there were only 2 days given for a 450-page document. It wasn't possible at all whatsoever for the Parliament to have a clause-by-clause discussion either. It was done on purpose. And number three, the by-user concept, which was brought about by the judiciary. They have undermined the judiciary because this was brought over a very long span of time after a lot of experience, a lot of discussions, and the BJP is used to undermining the judiciary. I want to ask them another thing. So, what is the stand on the Vice President making the statement that Article 146...
So your fader is going to go down. Your time is up. I'm going to give both of you a minute and a half each to make your claim. You can come back, sir. There's no point. We can't hear you. I'll circle back to you. I want to bring in Radhika Khera back into this conversation to make her final submissions because... Radhika Khera, you can use it to argue with me, or you can continue making your point on how this is not an interim setback. Nobody's saying this is a setback at all. Nobody's even getting there. But right now, with the prima facie, it is an interim setback. Go ahead, ma'am. Make your point.
Well, the Congress spokesperson should not be lying publicly and taking Dr. Ambedkar ji's name, because they are the one who have been continuously defaming him and continuously insulting him. The Congress party stood together to ensure that Dr. Ambedkar loses his election. And Dr. Ambedkar has always called for that there should be no reservation based on religion. Then why is the Karnataka Congress government giving 4% reservation to Muslims? You are yourself against the Constitution. You have amended the Constitution over 100 times. So please do not take Dr. Ambedkar ji's name over here. Secondly, you're talking about that no stakeholders were spoken to. Well, sir, you're forgetting your own leader in Parliament. Your own leader, Mr. Pramod Tiwari, went on to do a press conference from AICC and said, what was the need to have a conversation in the middle of the night? Why were extra hours taken? You had a problem. Kabhi aap kehte hai Rahul Gandhi, mujhe bolne nahi diya jata. Jab bolne diya jata hai, Rahul Gandhi was missing. He refused to speak. Priyanka Vadra refused to speak because of Kerala, whatever reason. Mrs. Gandhi refused to speak. The government gave you ample of time and you did a press conference and said that why was the session extended? It is unconstitutional to extend the session. And even during JPC, your leaders went on to throw glasses, and it is your leaders who are calling to incite violence, like Imran Masood.
All of that was in the Parliament. Now it's Act 2 of the Waqf law. It has already been made a law. That was, the journey of the Parliament to the President. Now it's Act 2. It's been contended in court. 1 minute, Arshdeep Kadyal, to make your submission. Go ahead.
Thank you. I would only request the Bharatiya Janata Party to give an assurance on national TV that they will not be bypassing the Supreme Court's order like they have been doing back in the day, whether it be at the time of Delhi Services Act, whether it be at the time of the Supreme Court order which said that CJ is to be made a part of the selection committee for Election Commission of India's appointment. And another thing, I want to ask their stance on the Vice President's statement which says that Article 142 has become a nuclear missile against democratic forces that is available 24/7 to the judiciary. What does the Bharatiya Janata Party have to say about that? Because we have seen the Home Minister's statement about Ambedkar sir, when he uttered those words in the Parliament, and we have seen the VP statement today. We want to do what was
That's all the time that we have for now. We're going to end it there. Once again, viewers, this is all interim, whichever side of the divide you look at it from. If you look at it as a setback for the government right now, where the two contentious provisions are concerned, it's only interim. It's only till the 5th of May. We don't know what happens on the 5th of May. But trust India Today to get you the ringside view and actually decoding what all of this legal jargon is about. And we hope we help you there.